Can you hear?
I can hear. Right here. I'm right here.
Good afternoon. This is David O. Thank you for joining me again here on WWDB AM 860 Radio. This is In the Know with David O. And I am joined by four outstanding guests. The first person we're going to talk to is David Ivory. He's a Grammy-nominated engineer, producer, but he's also the chair of the Philadelphia Music Industry Task Force, and he is going to update us on what's happening in the world of music here in Philadelphia. And he has a very special project of his own because, in addition to what he does as a engineer and producer, he's the director of sound recording and music technology at Montgomery County Community College, and they have some big news to share. And then we'll be talking to Debi Rafferty. She is the granddaughter of Wild Bill Guarneri. For those who don't know, if you ever got a chance to watch the HBO hit series Band of Brothers, one of the characters in the movie, a true life character, is Wild Bill Guarneri from South Philadelphia. And there is a statue of him, kind of his iconic look with the crutches, and he lost his leg in World War II out there in Delaware County. But he's from South Philadelphia, and she is joined today by her father, Gene Guarneri, and all the Guarneris seem to have a chip off the old man's block, right? Okay, and then we're going to talk to Jimmy DaSaint, CEO of DaSaint Entertainment. What is he up to now? The last thing I heard, he's doing movies, he's doing promoting another concert, but he has many titles. But let me tell you what a fascinating person he is. Artist, entrepreneur, and many other things. A real life story of a person with artistic abilities and gifts who ended up in federal prison and then did an amazing turnaround, and he joins us, Jimmy DaSaint. If you remember last week, well, listen, I wasn't here, but Tom Kong from my office was filling in as the host. If you like him a lot better than me, let us know. We'll bring him on more often. If you think he was just awful and you're glad I'm back, let me know, and we will never put him back on the air again. But anyway, he was here hosting, and he was joined by Andy Toy, Development and Communications Manager for CMAC, Southeast Asian Mutual Associations Assistance Coalition, a nonprofit, and Resilient. They're a female-driven rock band, 2017 rock finalist in PHL Live Center Stage. And then we were joined by Weta Frazier Collins. She is leading the way in the remembrance of Joe Frazier, Philly's own Smokin' Joe Frazier, and she was talking about the dedication of Joe Frazier Boulevard. And listen, I tell you that because you can always go to www.dbam.com and take a look at In the Know with David O, and you will find podcasts of our prior shows. And if you go to your YouTube, .com and type in the Know with David O, you will be able to look at some videos. I don't know what's up there now, but you'll get to see videos of our guests. At this time, let me start by, of course, thanking the show's sponsor, because basically I couldn't be on the air if I didn't have a sponsor. And that sponsor is Weinerman Pain and Wellness. They're located at 100 South Broad Street on the 18th floor. What they do is they help people get back to as full a life as possible through their ability to help people rehabilitate themselves physically from injuries, accidents, and other things. And of course, when you are good physically, you're often good mentally and emotionally. Well, let me start by introducing Dave Ivory. I know him well. Listen, among other things, he has been a judge in the rock category of PHL Live. He is a highly respected person in the music industry. He is Grammy nominated. He's done the recordings for The Roots, Erykah Badu, Patti LaBelle, Hailstorm, Kindred, The Family Soul, and so many others. And it's interesting because he's really kind of a rocker, but his talents have lended themselves in a very diverse way rap, all kinds of stuff. We're talking about jazz a little bit. And so he is my first guest. He's been on the show before, but David, thank you for coming in again.
Well, thank you very much for having me back.
Well,
I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate your work because on top of your very busy schedule and managing your artists, your singers, your bands, you do a lot. Former president of the Grammy chapter here in Philadelphia, a national trustee, all those type of things, teaching.
You're making me tired.
Oh my goodness! But let's start with this. You are the chair of Philadelphia's Music Industry Task Force or Music Industry Commission. You guys have been meeting. What is happening in the world of music in Philadelphia? What are you guys looking at?
Well, what we're looking at right now is trying to get some relief for our playing musicians. Oftentimes, musicians come into the city. They rarely get paid. Unfortunately, they're unloading their equipment and they'll get a parking ticket.
Yes.
They might end up, having their car towed just from loading in the gig that they're not even going to get paid for. So we're trying to work on just to help in the small level, just give some relief to the playing and gigging musicians that are in this city, and on a larger level, try to help foster a creative community that wants to stay here once they quote unquote make it, because oftentimes we have a lot of really great artists and they just move on out of the town. And I feel, and we feel as a task force that we want to try to change some of that and try to just, we can't move mountains. We have no budget, but we do have a lot of help through City Hall, through yourself, through the mechanism of what you have available to us, and we're just trying to find some ways that we can make have a good effect, a positive effect on the community of music.
Yeah, well, you certainly have a lot of talented and capable people in very diverse areas, and so collectively looking at how to make our city a more dynamic music city for creative and talented people, something you know very much about. And could you kind of personally tell us, like, some of the experiences you've had in either working with from the ground up new artists or coming across some really fantastic artists and then kind of assisting them, and then what happens after that? They move out of Philadelphia, hopefully some of them stay, but what's going on?
Well, fortunately I was witnessed and was part of a scene. There's been many scenes in the wave, so to speak, of Philadelphia music, starting with the Gamble and Huffy and Cameo Parkway days. I was fortunate enough to be in the 90s at Sigma Sound, and I was an independent producer there, but there was a lot of activity, and there was the Roots were coming up, and Common was there. There was like a whole activity, not only just with Sigma, but with other larger studios in the city at the time.
Right.
Wonderful time. Black Lily was happening. There was a lot of venues that were having music. And of course, the economy changed, and so did the technology change, and now a lot of people are making music on their computers. So it's more individualized. It's not more in a community type setting where it is like at a Sigma when there was 3 or 4 different studios. You'd be talking to Patti LaBelle in the hallway, Bunny Sigler would be singing, Questlove would be in the other room. Things. There's a synergy that happens.
Right. Collaboration,
even
sharing.
Discussion, and just talking about even just what's in your life, right?
Right.
So, but since that is not quite as happening as much, that's why. Even to be quite honest, why we're doing this at Montgomery County College. There's several studios. We've built a beautiful state-of-the-art mix room, and we're trying to create that scene to have new students, new energy, because that's really what it takes. It takes a commitment of the music creators to try to help each other out and bring the new people up. Unfortunately, we don't have tons of mechanisms like we did before to make that available.
I want to get to the facility, the mix room, but before we get to that, let me ask you this, because as you said, nowadays people can make music on their computers, and so many more people are able to produce a sound.
Correct.
And yet, is that leading to better music because of the quantity of music, or do you think that it is not as good as it used to be?
I think it's hard to say what's good or bad because obviously that's so subjective. I
Yeah.
just think the funny thing I always joke at is that the internet had a lot of opportunity for a lot more people to make more music.
Right.
But what happened was everybody is making a lot more music. So now before there was like a gatekeeper type situation where the
Right.
labels kind of held the reins on, so to speak, on how people kind of came through the mechanism. Now, of course, anybody can get on Spotify and do that. So in some ways, it's the most wide open and best it's been for new artists.
Right.
And in some ways, it's more difficult because there's millions and millions of them. And how do you navigate? How do you get your head to pop up out of that sea of people?
Right,
That's
right.
so I think ultimately every generation, every new technology wave has its own challenges. But I think there are still some fundamental things that I think we'll agree with in a lot of ways, is that it still really comes down to some really great singing, great playing, and really good songwriting.
How about the location? In other words, with so many people making music, the availability of this software, do people say to themselves, hey, I'm going to Nashville because I could do this anywhere, and Nashville is where I want to be, or hey, I'm going to New York, and isn't the point of the Philadelphia Music Industry Task Force to say, hey, Philadelphia, that's a place I want to be?
Of course. I think and I think part of that is making people aware, of the true talent in Philadelphia. Like one of our, one of the big issues is that music sometimes is taken for granted, and it's almost like a free commodity. And one of the things we work on as a task force, one of the initiatives, we're trying to get to everyone to understand that musicians have bills too.
Right.
And when you say, oh, you can play for free for exposure, we always joke too much exposure gets you pneumonia. So it's not really that. It's like I think a more of an understanding of if organizations, just in general, people themselves, music lovers, these musicians have to get paid.
Yeah.
And these original musicians, especially, because they're not playing in cover bands that are making money. They're spending money. They're losing money. So.
Right.
Bring awareness. It's like fair pay for fair play, right?
Right,
It's something that I think that the Music Industry Task Force it's really going to be one of our biggest goals.
Welcome news to all those artists out there. Here's a group of very successful professionals from a very diverse background trying to make sure that all of you are getting paid.
And bring the awareness up to people. It's okay, these people, men and women, and even young students, they need to just get some fair pay. So let's think that music isn't free.
Right.
People take, they have bills and they work really hard and
Got to put some gas in the car so it
Exactly.
goes. It don't go without gas,
Exactly.
right?
And they should park free in loading zones when they're loading
Yes.
their equipment.
I know one
and
of the
not get a
things
ticket.
you guys are meeting with the streets commissioner.
We're trying to get that together right now.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
Very good, very good. Well, listen, tell me about, and by the way, for the listeners, I was a guest of David Ivory. I went up to Montgomery County Community College, and there was nothing there. He was just telling us what was going to happen in this
There's some tape on the
room with
floor.
some fluorescent lights in it. But then I was just looking at the pictures, and the stuff is there now, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's
You
beautiful.
raised a lot of money for that.
Yeah, we did. We still have some more to raise. We need another $250,000, but the Pennsylvania, Department of Education gave us a $650 grant.
Wow.
And we had to match it, so now we're doing fundraising. We're going to create this really cool thing. It's going to be a Founders Society, and it's going to be a Wall of Fame, and we're going to have different donation levels. We're going to have gold 45s and gold albums with your name on it, and different levels of funding, and yeah. So we're trying to raise $250 to finish getting the rest of everything paid, and that Foundation Society we're developing. And if you can contribute before December 31st of this year, it's going to be great.
Where do people who want to contribute, where do they go?
It's the Montgomery County mcc.edu / fundraising.
Okay.
Or foundation, actually, I'm sorry.
One more time.
mc3.edu / foundation.
Okay. Now, going back, could you explain to people, lay people like myself, why is this important, and what kind of asset in our region is this mixed room?
Well, according to the U.S. government, this engineering business specifically is growing at about 12% a year. So it's one of an accelerating businesses, as opposed to stagnant or
Declining.
So, with that in mind, and with the fact that our enrollment, and we haven't really advertised that much yet because it's still a new program.
Right.
We're up 28%. We have a waiting list. So I think the important thing is that there are jobs out there. Yes, more entrepreneurial type jobs, meaning that you are definitely, once you get training, you'll probably go out there and do live sound on your own, and be an independent engineer and get paid from one source and another source and another source. But at the same time, there's definitely work out there. And we have great articulation agreements with 4-year colleges, because we're only a 2-year college.
Yes.
And with like Millersville and other area schools. So it's a great way for a student to get in, have amazing facilities to work out of at a very, very, very affordable rate.
That's a state-of-the-art facility.
Absolutely. There's only a handful of studios that is equipped like this room in the country. NFL Films has the same kind of console. Lucasfilms in LA. Skywalker Ranch. I mean, there's not many places. It's really beautiful, and it's great for film work too, because it's all 5:1, and amazing new editing.
Jimmy DaSaint shaking his head. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So it's gorgeous, and it's going to be great. We already have a lot of interest. We're opening it up to the community, and again, as you and I always talk, you're Philadelphia, I'm Montgomery County. It's regional.
Yes.
This is not. We need to be all in this together and make this a regional effort, because that's how we build a community.
So, in terms of your work as a professional, how do you see things developing or not developing in our region for artists, musicians, and for the industry?
I think we're on an upswing.
Oh, that's good news. I don't know the answer, folks, but that's good news.
I actually do. I really do.
Okay.
I think so. I think that we are. I think we definitely went through a lot of changes, and I think now we have a vibrant community in Northern Liberties.
Yes.
We have a growing awareness of our jazz scene. It seems like the classical community is kind of getting their organization together. The Grammys are doing really well here in the city. Our Grammy chapter. I think there's a lot of things going. There's a lot of positive energy. So, I can only be positive, because I think that's why we're here, and that's why we're trying to make things move.
For our listeners out there who may be aspiring musicians, or who are maybe frustrated musicians, or the parents of, what kind of advice do you have? Because I've seen you now, I think 4 years doing PHL Live in the rock category, and definitely you're looking for something. What are you looking for, and what do you try to do if they have that magic?
I always look for really good songs, and I always look for really hardworking people. So they're the two things. I mean, I would take a somewhat less talented person that worked harder than a very talented person that didn't work that much. To me, this is a very hard business.
Yes.
And I'm sure he will tell you.
Jimmy DaSaint, yeah.
Jimmy will tell you that it's a lot of work.
Yes.
And we joke an 8-hour day is like a day off. That's like a day off. 8 hours, that's nothing. So I mean, you have to be really ready to work and really be focused on your craft of songwriting. That is the key to success.
How do you tell if someone is hardworking? Because you have only so many hours in the day, and there's a lot of people knocking on your door, and everyone can look like they're hardworking, in an hour, a day, a week. But what causes you to say, hey, that person's really got it, and I really want to invest in them?
Because you would always be, you wouldn't want to invest in somebody the first time you meet them. So you basically would follow them, talk to them, have several meetings, talk to them, maybe even rehearse with them or work with them or whatever, and then I think you would make that decision. Especially in this business right now, there's no big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because those deals are over pretty much. So if you're really going to work with somebody, you better really care about them, because you're not going to get this big financial win at the end. So obviously they have to win you over. So
Right.
and you can see how people's effort is, their follow up, their what they have on their website, if posting's old, if, that kind of thing.
Right.
If you're in it to win it, your game needs to be up.
Mm. Well, that sounds like some solid advice from David
I hope
Ivory.
so.
Yeah, the music man himself.
David.
Well, listen, David, thank you very
Oh,
much
my
for
pleasure.
joining us,
My pleasure.
and we look forward to you coming back soon. So listen,
Anytime.
everybody, stay tuned because we're going to be talking to the Guarniers, Debi Rafferty, president of the Wild Bill Guarneri Memorial Fund, and they have a big event coming up, the 4th annual golf outing and dinner. She's here with Gene, a veteran himself, Vietnam veteran, and just the funny stories of Wild Bill Guarneri. Stay tuned.